Could you ever imagine a young boy once betrayed by his own brothers and thrown into a dark well, after that being sold by them to some unknown group of strangers, becoming one of the greatest rulers in Islam? Gifted with extraordinary insight, his visions were not just dreams, but glimpses into a future that would predict the hints of amazing and challenging times ahead. Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, Naseeha Studio. Today in this video, the story we will be uncovering is of one of the greatest rulers in Islam, Prophet Yusuf. We will see how he stood fast all hardships and tests from Allah to become of the rulers of his times. Yusuf, known in Christian and Jewish traditions as Joseph, was the 11th son of Jacob, a child born of Rachel, his father's most loved wife. From an early age, Yusuf exhibited qualities that distinguished him from his siblings, qualities that made him both favored and envied. His life took a dramatic turn based on two dreams he had, which were prophetic visions that foretold his future ascendancy, showing sheaves of wheat and celestial bodies bowing to him. These dreams, vivid and symbolic, marked Yusuf not only as a dreamer, but as someone chosen by destiny for a grand purpose. However, his path was neither straightforward nor easy. The early signs of greatness sowed seeds of jealousy and betrayal among his brothers, leading to one of the most heart-wrenching episodes of his life, being sold into slavery. This act of betrayal by his own brothers was the first of many trials he would face. But what makes Yusuf's story truly remarkable is not just the adversity he endured, but how he rose above each challenge with unwavering faith and integrity. In Egypt, stripped of his family and freedom, Yusuf's journey took him through the highest households to the darkest prisons. Yet, each setting, no matter how bleak, set the stage for a display of his resilience and exceptional character. His ability to interpret dreams, which once alienated his brothers, became his redemption and key to power in a foreign land. This skill drew the attention of the highest authority in Egypt, leading to an unexpected twist in his fate. As we go into the detailed chronicles of Yusuf's life, we explore not only the external trials, but the internal growth that each challenge fostered. His story is a vivid tableau of human emotions, where each scene, richly painted with hopes, fears, and aspirations, draws the reader into a deeper understanding of human nature and divine providence. Through Yusuf's story, we are reminded of the power of forgiveness and the importance of faith in the face of adversity. It teaches us that while we cannot always control our circumstances, the strength of character can guide us through the darkest moments. Yusuf's story, therefore, is more than a historical recount. It is a guidebook on navigating the trials of life with grace and perseverance. Early life and dreams. Yusuf, also known as Joseph, was the 11th son of Jacob, a well-respected man with many children. Yusuf was special to his father from the moment he was born, mainly because he was the first son of Jacob's favorite wife, Rachel, who had trouble having children for a long time. This special bond was symbolized by a beautiful, colorful coat that Jacob gave to Yusuf, setting him apart from his brothers and sparking jealousy. Yusuf grew up in a large family where all the children had different mothers, which sometimes made things complicated. Despite being younger, Yusuf showed qualities like thoughtfulness and wisdom, which made him even more favored by his father, but also more isolated from his brothers, who started to resent him deeply. The turning point in Yusuf's young life came through two vivid dreams he had. In the first dream, he saw 11 wheat sheaves, and his sheaf stood upright, while the others bowed down to it. In the second dream, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him. These dreams suggested that Yusuf was destined for great things, possibly to rule over others, including his own family. Yusuf made the mistake of sharing these dreams with his brothers, which only made them angrier and more jealous. Sensing the growing tension, Jacob advised Yusuf to keep his dreams to himself, fearing they might stir up more trouble. However, the seed of discord had already been planted. One day, Jacob sent Yusuf to check on his brothers, who were tending to the family's sheep. Seeing their chance, the brothers plotted against Yusuf, initially planning to kill him. However, Reuben, the oldest, convinced them to spare Yusuf's life, and instead they threw him into a dry well. Later, when Reuben was away, the others sold Yusuf to traders passing by, who took him to Egypt as a slave. They lied to their father Jacob, telling him that Yusuf had been killed by wild animals, showing him the colorful coat covered in goat's blood as proof. In Egypt, Yusuf was sold to Potiphar, an important officer in the Pharaoh's guard. Despite his challenging situation, Yusuf worked hard and earned Potiphar's trust, eventually managing his entire household. His dedication and ability to handle responsibilities showed that he was not just a dreamer, but also someone who could make things happen, even in tough times. Yusuf's ability to stay positive and effective, regardless of the hardships, laid the groundwork for his future rise to power. His early years, marked by dreams and challenges, teach us about the power of resilience and maintaining a good character no matter what life throws our way. As we follow Yusuf's journey further, we'll see how these early experiences shaped him into a leader who was not only powerful, but also kind and fair. Betrayal and slavery. Yusuf's life took a dramatic turn due to the deep-seated jealousy and betrayal by his own brothers, which marked the beginning of a series of trials that would test his resilience and shape his destiny. This chapter of his life not only illustrates the depths of human betrayal, but also showcases the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. The seeds of betrayal were sown when Yusuf shared his dreams with his brothers. Seeing their younger brother receive so much favor from their father, Jacob, and hearing Yusuf's dreams that suggested he would one day rule over them, filled the brothers with anger and envy. Their feelings escalated to a point where they could no longer bear to see Yusuf among them. One day, Jacob sent Yusuf to check on his brothers who were pasturing the sheep in a distant field. This was the opportunity they had been waiting for. As Yusuf approached, the brothers conspired to kill him and rid themselves of the dreamer once and for all. However, Reuben, the eldest, intervened, hoping to save Yusuf by suggesting they throw him into a pit instead, planning to rescue him later. When Yusuf arrived, he was violently seized and thrown into a dry well, stripped of the symbolic, colorful coat his father had given him. Reuben's plan to save Yusuf never came to fruition because while he was away, the brothers saw a caravan of Ishmaelite traders traveling to Egypt. Judah, one of the brothers, proposed that they sell Yusuf to these traders. By doing this, they wouldn't have blood directly on their hands, and they could still rid themselves of Yusuf. The brothers agreed and sold Yusuf for 20 pieces of silver. After selling Yusuf, the brothers dipped his coat in goat's blood and presented it to their father, Jacob, who was devastated by the sight and the belief that a wild animal had devoured his beloved son. This lie plunged Jacob into deep mourning, and the brothers watched their father suffer, keeping their dark secret among themselves. Yusuf in Egypt, a slave's life. Yusuf's journey into slavery began with his arrival in Egypt, far from home and utterly alone. He was sold to Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's guard, a man of considerable influence in the Egyptian court. Despite his dire circumstances, Yusuf did not give in to despair. Instead, he chose to make the best of his situation, quickly distinguishing himself for his diligence, intelligence, and integrity. In Potiphar's household, Yusuf's unique qualities soon became apparent. He handled every task with such efficiency and care that Potiphar noticed and appreciated the blessing Yusuf brought to his household. Trusting Yusuf implicitly, Potiphar promoted him to oversee all his household affairs. Under Yusuf's management, everything thrived, and his authority in the house grew, reflecting his resilience and ability to adapt to new and challenging environments. However, Yusuf's rise in Potiphar's household also brought new challenges. His integrity and handsome appearance caught the eye of Potiphar's wife, who repeatedly tried to seduce him. Yusuf, steadfast in his principles, refused her advances, choosing to remain loyal to his master and faithful to his moral convictions. His rejection of her advances, however, provoked Potiphar's wife's wrath, leading to a pivotal moment in Yusuf's life: false accusation and imprisonment. One day, when the house was empty, Potiphar's wife made a final, desperate attempt to seduce Yusuf. When he resisted and fled, leaving his garment in her hands as he ran, she used it as evidence to falsely accuse him of making advances towards her. Humiliated and furious, she convinced her husband that Yusuf had betrayed his trust. Potiphar, enraged and feeling betrayed, had no choice but to protect his wife's honor and his own reputation. Thus, despite Yusuf's excellent service and the lack of true evidence against him, he was sent to prison. This decision was perhaps influenced more by societal expectations and the need to uphold family honor than by his belief in Yusuf's guilt. Lessons from the depths. The well and the prison were both pits of despair in their own right, yet they were also places where Yusuf's character was refined. Each trial seemed to prepare him for a greater destiny, one that was intricately linked to his ability to endure suffering and maintain his faith. In the darkness of these experiences, Yusuf's dreams and the lessons they contained began to take on a new, profound significance. His time as a slave and prisoner tested his resolve, but Yusuf's unwavering integrity and trust in his fate not only sustained him, but also set the stage for his eventual rise to power. This part of his life story, marked by profound betrayal and resilience, shows how adversity can lead to growth and unforeseen opportunities. As we reflect on Yusuf's journey through betrayal and slavery, it's clear that his early experiences, though fraught with hardship, were pivotal in shaping his path to leadership and influence. These trials highlighted his steadfast character and unwavering faith, traits that would soon lead to his redemption and the fulfillment of the dreams that had once seemed to promise only division and grief. Rise in Potiphar's household. When Yusuf was brought to Egypt, he was thrust into a completely unfamiliar world. As a slave in the household of Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and the captain of the guard, Yusuf was far from the pastoral landscapes of Canaan and the warmth of his father's home. Despite these challenges, Yusuf's arrival in Potiphar's household marked the beginning of an extraordinary period of personal growth and advancement, illustrating how resilience and integrity can pave the way for unexpected success. Adaptation and excellence. Upon arriving in Potiphar's home, Yusuf found himself in a position of servitude, a stark contrast to the freedom and affection he once enjoyed. He was a stranger in a land with customs vastly different from his own. Yet, Yusuf did not allow his circumstances to dampen his spirit or diminish his character. Instead, he embraced his new role with a strong work ethic and a positive attitude, qualities that did not go unnoticed. Yusuf quickly distinguished himself from other servants through his diligence, trustworthiness, and quick learning. He approached each task with care and precision, managing his duties with a level of competence that was rare. His ability to oversee household affairs with such proficiency led to a smoother and more efficient operation of Potiphar's home. This not only brought prosperity to the household, but also gained him Potiphar's trust and favor. Trusted manager. As Yusuf's responsibilities grew, so did his influence within the household. Potiphar saw that everything Yusuf touched seemed to flourish, and he recognized that this was no ordinary occurrence. The blessing that accompanied Yusuf was evident, and Potiphar decided to capitalize on this by promoting Yusuf to oversee all his household affairs. In his role as the overseer, Yusuf had complete administrative control over the household's operations. He managed the servants, dealt with the finances, and ensured the smooth running of all domestic activities. His leadership not only maximized efficiency, but also significantly improved the overall wealth and status of Potiphar's estate. This period of Yusuf's life highlights an important lesson. His success was not merely a product of his ability to manage well, but also a reflection of his integrity and moral character. Despite his position as a slave, Yusuf conducted himself with honor and faithfulness, never abusing his power or betraying the trust placed in him by Potiphar, a test of character. However, Yusuf's rise was not without challenges. His success, coupled with his handsome appearance, eventually drew the unwanted attention of Potiphar's wife, who attempted to seduce him. This presented Yusuf with a moral dilemma that would test his character and integrity. Yusuf's reaction to Potiphar's wife's advances was a testament to his strong moral fiber. He refused her, not out of pride or scorn, but because he understood the ethical implications of betraying his master's trust and the moral wrongdoing of the act itself. Yusuf's steadfast refusal to give in to temptation was consistent with his overall character, loyal, responsible, and upright. Consequences of integrity. Yusuf's rejection of Potiphar's wife led to severe repercussions. Spurned and humiliated, she accused Yusuf of attempting to take advantage of her. Her influence and her word as a high-ranking officer's wife carried weight, and Potiphar, though perhaps skeptical of the claim, had little choice but to act. Yusuf was unjustly imprisoned, accused of a crime he did not commit. This injustice marked a significant turning point in his life, leading him from a position of trust and authority to one of disgrace and imprisonment. Despite this setback, Yusuf's time in Potiphar's household was a period of immense personal growth and professional development. His experiences there prepared him for the complexities of leadership and governance, skills that would later prove invaluable. The injustice he faced did not embitter him, but rather strengthened his resilience and deepened his reliance on his faith. Reflections on leadership. Yusuf's rise in Potiphar's household teaches several critical lessons about leadership. First, true leadership is characterized by integrity and the consistent application of ethical principles, regardless of personal cost. Second, a leader's success often depends on their ability to adapt to new roles and environments while maintaining their core values. Lastly, the way a leader handles power and responsibility can significantly impact their influence and the loyalty they inspire in others. As we leave Yusuf managing Potiphar's household, we see a young man who has matured immensely through his trials. His story continues to unfold as he moves from the heights of administrative power back to the depths of a prison cell, setting the stage for another dramatic shift in his fate. This chapter of his life, while filled with trials, highlights the indomitable spirit of a true leader who can thrive under pressure and maintain integrity in the face of adversity. Trial and imprisonment. Yusuf's integrity in Potiphar's household, while earning him trust and authority, eventually led to one of the most severe trials of his life. His rejection of advances from Potiphar's wife resulted in false accusations that shattered his reputation and led to his imprisonment. This chapter in Yusuf's life is a poignant illustration of how personal integrity can sometimes lead to unforeseen hardships, yet it also underscores the strength found in steadfast morality and faith. The accusation. The trouble began when Yusuf, entrusted with great responsibility and enjoying the favor of his master, found himself the object of Potiphar's wife's desire. Despite repeated refusals, she persisted. One day, finding themselves alone in the house, she attempted to force him into a compromising situation. Yusuf fled, leaving behind a piece of his garment in her grasp as he escaped her advance. Angered by his rejection, she turned the situation against him, using the garment as evidence of an alleged assault. When Potiphar returned home, his wife presented the torn garment, claiming Yusuf had tried to attack her. The nature of the accusation, coupled with the physical proof she provided, placed Potiphar in a difficult position. Although the details of Yusuf's conduct as a servant may have caused Potiphar to doubt the claims, societal and familial pressures likely influenced his decision. To protect his honor and appease his wife, Potiphar had no choice but to act against Yusuf. Yusuf's imprisonment. The consequence of the false accusation was immediate and severe. Yusuf was stripped of his position and thrown into the royal prison, a place reserved for Pharaoh's prisoners, those who had offended the crown in one way or another. Despite the drastic turn of events, Yusuf did not despair. His faith in a just and knowing God provided him comfort and resilience, qualities that would define his time in incarceration. Prison was a harsh environment, vastly different from his previous positions both in his father's tents and in Potiphar's estate. However, Yusuf's character remained unchanged by bitterness or anger. Instead, he continued to exhibit the same virtues that had elevated him before: integrity, wisdom, and leadership. Rising within the prison. Even in prison, Yusuf's natural leadership came to the fore. He was soon noticed by the prison warden who, recognizing the same qualities that Potiphar had seen, entrusted Yusuf with responsibilities within the prison. Just as he had managed Potiphar's household, Yusuf now managed the affairs of the prison. He was put in charge of the other inmates and took care of the prison's daily operations, a role that, under his stewardship, brought order and efficiency to the prison environment. This period of Yusuf's life highlights his remarkable ability to thrive in adversity and to influence his surroundings positively, regardless of his status. His reputation as a fair and wise administrator grew, and he became a respected figure within the prison walls, among both inmates and guards. The dream interpreter. Yusuf's ability to interpret dreams, which had been a point of contention in his youth, now became a source of hope and revelation in prison. Two of Pharaoh's officials, the cupbearer and the baker, who were imprisoned for offending the king, had dreams that troubled them deeply. Observing Yusuf's wisdom and approachability, they asked him to interpret their dreams. Yusuf did not claim credit for his ability, but instead pointed to God as the source of all knowledge. He interpreted their dreams accurately, predicting that the cupbearer would be restored to his position while the baker would be executed. His interpretations proved correct, which not only bolstered his reputation within the prison, but also laid the groundwork for his future elevation. Lessons from the depths. The lessons from Yusuf's time in prison are profound. First, it underscores the power of maintaining one's integrity and faith, even when faced with unjust circumstances. Yusuf's experience in the prison also illustrates how one's gifts and skills can serve as a means of survival and advancement, even in the most unlikely places. His ability to remain positive, to lead, and to help others in the midst of his trials transformed his imprisonment into a period of preparation and growth. Yusuf's story during this phase is a powerful testament to the human spirit's resilience. It shows that while we cannot control every aspect of our lives, How we respond to our circumstances can define our path. Yusuf chose to live with honor, to make the best of his situation, and to trust in a higher plan, all of which were instrumental in his eventual rise to prominence. Interpreter of dreams. While Yusuf's imprisonment was unjust, it became a pivotal stage in his life, showcasing his unique gift for interpreting dreams. This talent, which initially caused discord among his brothers, now positioned him for a dramatic shift in his destiny. His deep understanding of dreams and his ability to glean their meanings would not only change his life, but also save an entire nation from disaster. The gift re-emerges. In the depths of the prison, Yusuf's reputation as a man of wisdom and integrity grew. Among his fellow inmates were two of Pharaoh's officials, the royal cupbearer and the baker, both of whom had fallen from grace. Each had a dream that disturbed them deeply, and seeing Yusuf's thoughtful demeanor and hearing of his ability to interpret dreams, they approached him for insight. Yusuf listened as each man recounted his dream. The cupbearer described a vine with 3 branches that budded and blossomed, eventually producing ripe grapes that he squeezed into Pharaoh's cup. The baker, on the other hand, dreamed of 3 baskets of white bread on his head, with birds eating from the top basket. Despite the seemingly mundane nature of these visions, Yusuf discerned a deeper, prophetic meaning in each. Divine interpretations. With humility, Yusuf prefaced his interpretations by crediting God for the ability to understand such mysteries. He told the cupbearer that his dream meant that within 3 days, he would be restored to his position and would again serve Pharaoh. Conversely, the baker's dream foretold a grim fate. Within 3 days, he would be lifted up and executed, with birds eating his flesh. Yusuf's interpretations were both precise and swiftly fulfilled. The cupbearer was reinstated, and the baker was hanged, just as Yusuf had predicted. These events confirmed Yusuf's gift and marked him as a man in touch with the divine, capable of understanding the deepest secrets revealed through dreams. A forgotten promise. Before the cupbearer left the prison to return to his duties, Yusuf made a simple request. He asked the cupbearer to mention his plight to Pharaoh, hoping that his unjust imprisonment might be reconsidered and he could be freed. The cupbearer, grateful for the insight that promised his restoration, readily agreed. However, once restored to his comfortable life, he soon forgot about Yusuf, who remained in prison. 2 full years passed, during which Yusuf continued to live in confinement. Despite the cupbearer's forgetfulness, Yusuf's faith did not wane. He continued to conduct himself with integrity, perhaps wondering at times about the meaning of his own prolonged trials. Pharaoh's dreams. Then came a turn of events that would thrust Yusuf into the spotlight of Egyptian power. Pharaoh himself started having recurring dreams that deeply troubled him and baffled all his wise men and magicians. In one dream, he saw 7 healthy fat cows being devoured by 7 sickly thin cows. In another, 7 full and ripe ears of grain were swallowed up by 7 thin and scorched ears. These dreams perplexed Pharaoh and his advisors, for no one could provide a satisfactory interpretation. It was then that the cupbearer, remembering Yusuf's accuracy in interpreting his own dream, finally recalled his promise. He told Pharaoh about Yusuf and his remarkable ability to interpret dreams with divine insight. Yusuf's moment. Prompted by the cupbearer's story, Pharaoh ordered for Yusuf to be brought from prison. Cleaned and dressed appropriately, Yusuf stood before the most powerful man in Egypt. Pharaoh recounted his troubling dreams and asked Yusuf for their meaning. With characteristic humility, Yusuf again attributed his ability to God, ensuring Pharaoh understood that it was not his own power, but divine wisdom that revealed the meanings of such mysteries. He then explained to Pharaoh that both dreams were prophetic, carrying the same message. Egypt would experience 7 years of great abundance, followed by 7 years of severe famine. This interpretation not only explained the dreams, but also offered a glimpse into the future, providing Pharaoh with an opportunity to prepare and thus save his kingdom from disaster. Impressed by Yusuf's wisdom and the divine favor apparent in his interpretations, Pharaoh realized that Yusuf was no ordinary man. He saw in Yusuf not only a gifted interpreter, but a potential leader whose insight could be the key to preserving Egypt through the upcoming trials. A new beginning. Yusuf's ability to interpret dreams transformed his fate from a forgotten prisoner to a trusted advisor to Pharaoh. His journey underscores the theme that personal gifts, when coupled with integrity and faith, can lead to significant opportunities and can impact many lives. Yusuf's story from this point takes a pivotal turn towards governance and leadership, showcasing how his trials, his gifts, and his character prepared him uniquely to save a nation and fulfill his own destiny. Ascendancy to power. Yusuf's precise interpretation of Pharaoh's dreams marked a turning point in his life. From the confines of a prison cell to the heights of Egyptian governance, Yusuf's journey illustrates how resilience, wisdom, and a providential gift for interpreting dreams can culminate in remarkable leadership opportunities. This part of his story not only highlights his rise to power, but also demonstrates his strategic thinking and foresight, qualities that would save Egypt from a devastating famine. Pharaoh's recognition. Pharaoh was deeply impressed by Yusuf's ability to decipher the ominous dreams that none of his advisors could interpret. Yusuf explained that the dreams foretold 7 years of great abundance in Egypt, followed by 7 years of severe famine so harsh that it would erase all memory of the abundance. Recognizing the need for a wise and prudent administrator to manage the impending crisis, Pharaoh saw in Yusuf not only a gifted interpreter, but a potential leader whose insight and integrity were evident. Yusuf, seizing the moment, suggested a plan of action. He advised Pharaoh to appoint a discerning and wise manager to oversee the land of Egypt. This person would be responsible for collecting 1/5 of the harvest during the 7 years of abundance and storing this grain to prepare for the 7 years of famine. This strategic foresight demonstrated Yusuf's understanding of administration and resource management, skills honed through his years of managing Potiphar's household and the prison. Yusuf's appointment. Convinced of Yusuf's wisdom and leadership abilities, Pharaoh appointed him as the second in command of Egypt. This appointment was not merely an acknowledgement of Yusuf's ability to interpret dreams, but a recognition of his leadership qualities and his capacity to act decisively in times of crisis. Pharaoh said to Yusuf, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." Yusuf was given Pharaoh's signet ring, a symbol of his authority to act on Pharaoh's behalf. He was dressed in garments of fine linen and wore a gold chain around his neck. Furthermore, he was paraded in a chariot as Pharaoh's second in command, and people bowed to him as he passed, marking his new status as a ruler in Egypt. Implementation of the plan. Yusuf was 30 years old when he began his service under Pharaoh. With the authority vested in him, he immediately set about implementing his plan to save Egypt from the forthcoming famine. He traveled throughout the land, overseeing the collection and storage of grain during the years of abundance. Under his supervision, vast amounts of grain were stored in cities near the fields from which they were harvested. This systematic approach to gathering and managing the resources demonstrated Yusuf's administrative skill and his proactive leadership. The 7 plentiful years passed as Yusuf had predicted, and Egypt accumulated huge reserves of grain, enough to withstand the coming famine. When the 7 years of famine began, they were as severe as Yusuf had foretold, not only in Egypt, but in all surrounding lands. However, Egypt was prepared, thanks to Yusuf's foresight and efficient management. Famine and Yusuf's governance. As famine ravaged the region, Egypt became the only kingdom able to sustain itself, drawing people from all over to buy grain. Yusuf controlled the sale of grain, carefully managing the distribution to ensure that it lasted through the 7 lean years. His ability to maintain a steady supply established stability and order during a time of widespread desperation and chaos. This period also marked Yusuf's rise not only as a political leader, but as a beacon of hope. His governance during the famine demonstrated his commitment to saving lives and managing resources wisely. People from various lands, including his own family from Canaan, came to Egypt seeking relief from the famine, unaware that they were seeking help from the very brother they had betrayed and sold into slavery. Reflections on Yusuf's leadership. Yusuf's ascendancy to power is a remarkable narrative of redemption and divine providence. It shows how personal adversity, when met with perseverance and faith, can lead to unprecedented opportunities. Yusuf's life in Egypt, from a slave to a ruler, exemplifies how strategic thinking, integrity, and a genuine concern for the welfare of others can define true leadership. Moreover, Yusuf's story is a testament to the idea that true leadership emerges under pressure and is sustained by a leader's ability to foresee challenges and devise strategic responses. His journey from the depths of a dungeon to the heights of Egyptian power illuminates the profound impact that wise governance can have on a nation's fate. As we look back on Yusuf's path to becoming a ruler, we see not just a story of personal success, but a larger narrative about the importance of character, resilience, and the readiness to act when called upon. Yusuf's life reminds us that while we may not always understand our difficult experiences, they may be preparing us for critical roles that can influence the lives of many. Reunion and forgiveness. Yusuf's rise to power in Egypt set the stage for one of the most poignant chapters of his life, the reunion with his brothers who had betrayed him years earlier. This encounter not only tested Yusuf's character and forgiveness, but also completed a cycle of redemption and reconciliation that is central to his story. The arrival of the brothers. As the famine that ravaged the region worsened, it reached Canaan, where Yusuf's family was struggling to survive. Jacob, Yusuf's father, heard that there was grain for sale in Egypt and sent his sons there to buy food, unknowingly sending them to the brother they had betrayed. The brothers arrived in Egypt, bowed before the governor, fulfilling the vision of the stars and sheaves bowing to Yusuf in his childhood dreams. Yusuf recognized his brothers immediately, but they did not recognize him, transformed as he was by years and the trappings of Egyptian power. Seeing his brothers for the first time since they sold him into slavery stirred deep emotions within Yusuf. However, he controlled his feelings and spoke harshly to them, accusing them of being spies. This was a test, not out of vengeance, but to gauge whether his brothers had changed, whether they still harbored the same jealousy and lack of integrity that led them to sell him. The tests. To verify their stories, Yusuf demanded that they bring their youngest brother, Benjamin, to him. Claiming this as the only way to prove their honesty, he kept Simeon as a hostage until their return. This was another test, aimed at probing their sense of responsibility and unity as a family. The brothers returned to Canaan and recounted everything to Jacob, who was initially reluctant to let Benjamin go. However, the severity of the famine left him no choice. On their second trip, the brothers returned with Benjamin. Yusuf was deeply moved to see his full brother, the only other son of his mother, Rachel. He managed to contain his emotions, but arranged a final test to see if his brother's attitudes towards a favored son had truly changed. Yusuf ordered his servants to place a silver cup in Benjamin's sack. After the brothers left for Canaan, they were stopped and accused of theft. The cup was found in Benjamin's sack, and they were all brought back to Yusuf. He offered to keep only Benjamin as a slave for the theft, testing whether the other brothers would abandon Benjamin as they had once abandoned him. The transformation. What Yusuf witnessed next was a testament to the brothers' change. Judah, who had originally proposed selling Yusuf, now stepped forward, offering himself as a slave in place of Benjamin, showing true repentance and willingness to sacrifice himself for his family. This was the moment Yusuf had been waiting for. His brothers had indeed changed. The revelation. Overcome with emotion, Yusuf could no longer keep his identity hidden. He sent away his Egyptian servants and revealed himself to his brothers. "I am Yusuf," he declared. "Is my father still alive?" His brothers were stunned, unable to believe that the brother they had betrayed was now the governor of Egypt, the second most powerful man in the kingdom. Yusuf comforted them, urging them not to be distressed or angry with themselves. He explained that it was not they who sent him to Egypt, but God, to preserve life. His perspective on his past sufferings had evolved. He now saw his journey not as a series of misfortunes, but as part of a divine plan that positioned him to save his family and many others from starvation. The family reunion. Yusuf urged his brothers to return quickly to Canaan, bring their father, families, and flocks to Egypt, where he would provide for them. The reunion that followed was heartfelt and tearful, especially between Yusuf and Jacob, who had grieved for his son for many years, believing him dead. Pharaoh, learning of the reunion, offered them land in the best part of Egypt, the region of Goshen, to settle and prosper. Yusuf's family received a warm welcome, and they went on to live in Egypt, close to Yusuf. The narrative of betrayal turning into familial salvation highlighted Yusuf's wisdom and generosity. Reflections on forgiveness. Yusuf's story is a powerful lesson on forgiveness and seeing beyond personal vendetta. His ability to forgive his brothers, understanding the larger picture, and recognizing the hand of divine providence in his life's path showcases his profound maturity and spiritual depth. It is a vivid reminder that reconciliation can bring healing not only to personal relationships, but also to entire communities and nations. Yusuf's reunion with his family underscores the themes of redemption, the power of forgiveness, and the unforeseen ways in which hardships might prepare individuals for greater tasks. His journey from a pit in Canaan to the pinnacle of Egyptian power, and from a wronged brother to a forgiving and wise leader, serves as an enduring testament to the strength of familial bonds and the transformative power of forgiveness. The story of Yusuf, from his early days dreaming in Canaan to becoming a powerful leader in Egypt, teaches us about resilience, hope, and the importance of forgiveness. His journey through tough times, betrayal by his own family, and rising above his challenges offers us valuable lessons on how to handle life's difficulties. Yusuf's life story shows us how he stayed strong and wise through all the hardships he faced. From being a favored son to becoming a slave and then a prisoner, each stage of his life taught him important lessons that prepared him for big responsibilities. As the ruler of Egypt, he saved many people from starvation by planning ahead and managing resources smartly. His story isn't just about his rise to power, it's about how he used his position to help others and make a difference. Forgiveness and family. One of the most touching parts of Yusuf's story is when he reunites with his brothers who had wronged him. Instead of seeking revenge, he chose to forgive them. This act of forgiving his brothers changed a story of hurt and betrayal into one of hope and healing. It shows us the power of letting go of past hurts and moving forward. Yusuf understood that their actions, though painful, led to greater good, not just for him, but for many others. Learning from Yusuf's life. Yusuf's life teaches us that we often have more control over our circumstances than we might think. Even though he faced many challenges, he used his skills and opportunities to shape his future. This blend of destiny and personal effort shows us that while we might not control everything that happens to us, we can always choose how to respond. Lessons for today. Yusuf's story is still relevant today because it offers lessons on dealing with personal struggles and leading others wisely. His strategic thinking during times of plenty and famine is a great example for leaders on how to prepare for and manage crises. His life encourages us to lead with kindness, wisdom, and integrity. Overall, Yusuf's story is about overcoming difficulties with faith and optimism. It teaches us that no matter how tough things get, there's always a chance for a better future. It encourages us to forgive, to use our talents for good, and to believe in the bigger picture. In every challenge, just like Yusuf, we can find opportunities to grow and to help others. His story isn't just about the past. It's a guide filled with wisdom for living our lives today. It reminds us that with hope, patience, and forgiveness, we can get through the toughest times and emerge stronger. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. If you enjoyed this video and found it interesting, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more content celebrating the Islamic heritage. Your support really helps spread these important stories and teachings. We hope that Allah brings peace, happiness, and success to you and your family.